You're listening to the Flip Houses Like a Girl podcast, where we educate, empower, and celebrate everyday women who are facing their fears, juggling family and business, embracing their awesomeness, and wholeheartedly chasing their dream of flipping houses. Each episode delivers honest to goodness tools, tips, and strategies you can implement today to get closer to your first or next successful house flip. Here's your spiky-haired, breakfast taco-loving host, house flipping coach, Debbie DeBeery.
Hey there. Welcome to today's episode where you just prepare yourself to laugh, okay? That's all I can say. This was an hour-long conversation that much of the time was spent with me laughing. And it was actually a longer conversation. I think we had to edit out about 20 minutes of me laughing. So this interview is with Michelle and Angel, who are best friends and have been for 20 plus years. They live in Fort Collins, Colorado. They specialize in mid-century modern houses, which, man, I wish we had some of those in Austin. I think we might have 7. I wish we had some more. And this is their story of their first flip. They, were told all the negative things about doing this venture together and how they were going to ruin their friendship. And it was just all going to be ruined, right? And it just wasn't. Here's the thing. Sometimes other people are wrong. Sometimes the naysayers have no freaking clue what they're talking about. And by sometimes, I mean 99.999% of the time. Usually if somebody is hating on something, it's coming from a place of fear or jealousy or insecurity. It has nothing to do with you. Just as an aside here. Anyway, you'll love how they balance each other and how they delegate, not just amongst each other, but to other people. And Michelle's portion of the profit they made in just 19 weeks on one single project was what she was making in an entire year as an educator. And she did it doing something she loves with so much more flexibility and time freedom. We're going to hear about their challenges with their contractor initially. We'll hear lots of fun stories. All right. You'll learn, you'll laugh, and you'll certainly fall in love with these two. All right, let's jump in. Let's just do a little intro, each of you kind of telling a little bit about your background, like where you are, and how long have y'all been best friends and all of that? I'm curious.
Okay. You want me to start? Okay. I'm Angel, and I don't even know where to start. Our history is so long. So Michelle and I met in 1997 so we're both out-of-staters. We went to CSU, and they put all the out-of-staters on one floor in the dorm that we lived in. It. And we found out we were both from Nebraska. We grew up 2.5 hours from each other the whole time.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So we've known each other for 100 years. And I mostly stayed in Fort Collins with like a weird stint in Cheyenne, Wyoming to work, and then came back. And my husband and I have been in Fort Collins mostly since 98. Okay. And Michelle was going all over the world. And I kept saying, you should probably just live in Fort Collins. During the pandemic, she had a new baby. And I was like, hey, this house on my cul-de-sac's going to be coming for sale. And they bought it and moved.
Oh my God, y'all are cul-de-sac neighbors.
Yeah. So we're best friends, neighbors, and business partners.
Nothing can go wrong.
No pressure. And our houses are identical, but mirror images.
Like floor plan wise.
So I'm always disoriented in her house because I'm like, the bathroom should be on the right, not on the left.
And well, I don't know, but so I'm Michelle, and so after Angel and I met, we always were in touch, and it didn't really matter where we were, but yeah, my background, I studied international studies and Spanish, and then went to work in higher education in the study abroad world. So I was all over the US for a few years. I lived in Austin for a few months. And then I moved overseas to Spain for a couple of years. And then when I came back to the States, did grad school and all of that. And so I've been mostly, in higher ed for 20 years. Left that field a few years ago, mostly because I had a chronic health issue, chronic migraines that kept me from being able to work anymore. So I kind of became a kind of unwilling stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of in that space of, being home and then having a pandemic baby and then 2 older kids in elementary school with homeschooling. And it was just kind of, the pandemic disaster that so many other women around the world experienced too, and men. So it was, a time when I moved up here and I was really struggling with what am I going to do next? I want to do something totally different. And we just kind of had a heart to heart where I was like, I was like, what I really want to do is flip houses. Cause I'm one of those people that I like watch HGTV in my spare time, and I'm on Pinterest in my spare time. And like, I'm a very visual person, and I love tweaking my own house, and I've always renovated my own homes that we've lived in. And then to my shock, she was like, I've always wanted to do that too. And she actually had a little staging business up in Cheyenne during her short stint there. And
for 10 seconds, I had a staging business. Because I also renovated my own houses when I lived in them, and made a huge profit on my first little starter home, and sold it a second before the recession.
Oh man.
Just right before. So that was real lucky. But my background is retail management, career counseling, HR, to being one of the first people in the United States to open a co-working space.
Awesome.
Back in 2010.
Yeah.
So I've owned and run my co-working space in Fort Collins for coming up on 12 years now. And so right as Michelle is moving in next door and having her own career moment, I'm watching my business die on the vine, because my whole business model is, how do I pack as many people as possible in the smallest square footage and hang out and laugh and have potlucks and eat together? We literally went from sharing food to the shutdown.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, are you going to finish your coffee? I'll drink that for you. Now it's unconscionable.
Oblivious.
Yeah. So we go into the shutdown, and my revenue was cut in half.
Holy cow. I'm sure. Oh, I'm sure. Oh my gosh.
Where it was just like, hey, I need a little bit of rent abatement on my super big commercial building in downtown Fort Collins. And they were super great, and we managed to patch it up. But as Michelle's having her career moment, I'm watching my business die. And I'm like, I have no other skills. I've been doing this the whole time. I don't know. And so when she was like, I want to flip houses, and I was like, of course you do. So do I. And they were like,
of course,
let's become real estate agents. And so we went to school for that, which was awful.
Oh no.
And got our licenses. And then of course, right as I'm getting my license, my Cohere's coming back. So we're flipping a house, and Cohere is back. And I'm like, great, now I have 3 full-time jobs instead of none.
Well, I'm glad that your co-working space is coming back. I've actually been thinking about that. I joined a co-working space in 2011, maybe. 2010, 2011. And it was one of the first ones over here. And I needed to get out. I was not being social at all. And I just needed to get out. This was when I was actually more social. And I've been wondering about her and how she's doing, because I did it for maybe a year.
Who was it? I bet I know her.
I'm sure you do too. And I can't, I am having a 45-year-old moment right now. I cannot for the life of me.
It'll come to you in the middle of the night, tonight, or a week from now.
Do you remember the name of the space?
She actually has 2.
Was it Link?
Yes.
Oh,
Link
yeah,
co-working.
Liz.
Liz, thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, it's short. I know it's a short name. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I've known Liz since forever. So I used to come to Austin for South by Southwest for co-working stuff.
Got it.
And I did the South by Southwest Ignite presentation on the 4 futures of co-working. And then I was down there later with, for the music scene for this rehearsal space that I owned.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I was always down at South by Southwest, in some pedicab on my way to some event.
Oh god, that's hilarious. I love how small the world really is.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Okay. Does she still own Link? Is she still?
No, she sold hers to Common Desk.
Okay.
So.
That's it. Yep. Okay. Thanks. Yep. All right. Now that I've come full circle on that, I feel closure there. Okay. Now let's talk about the flip. So we've got some background on y'all. And now we're going into your first flip. And how did you find it?
So this one, I think I was just scrolling through Zillow and it was a for sale by owner. And just picked up the phone and called him. And he answered and we had a conversation and we set up a time to come by. And was it the same day?
It was very much like,
come on by, we're just over here doing repairs. They were actively just working on it.
No, it was dumb because I was like, no, we have to finish Debbie's modules before we can look at houses. And we finished them. And 10 seconds later, Michelle's like, there's a for sale by owner. We have an appointment. Yeah, but it was an older couple from Colorado Springs, had this as a rental for years for their kids and other college kids. And they were there for the weekend trying to repair it it was on the market. It was on the market as a FSBO, but they were exhausted. You could just tell they were
sleeping on an air mattress on the floor and had, tools everywhere. And yeah, I mean, they knew they wanted to sell it and we could see the exhaustion on their faces. So, honestly, our first impression of it was really positive. I mean, it looked very well maintained, had beautiful hardwood floors. And it was exactly, we were really wanting to do mid-century ranches and it was exactly a mid-century ranch.
Yeah.
And so we gave them an offer and went under contract. And this is, keep in mind, we had just gotten our real estate licenses, just signed on with a brokerage.
5 seconds before.
Had no idea what we're doing. And it's a for sale by owner with no agent on the other side to hold Angel's hand.
Right.
As she's navigating all the 1992 database that is the realtor world.
It is the 1992.
The software that's propping up the real estate industry is
frightening.
An apocalyptic nightmare world from 1993.
Yeah.
It's like if Visual Basic had a baby with
DOS. Anyway, so it was we felt like we were drinking from a fire hose and just trying to figure out number that we offered. So
okay. Perfect.
Yeah, it was right around 100.
Okay. All right. So you've got $377,500 for the purchase. You've got $100,000 in repairs. How on earth are you financing this?
Yeah. So we stumbled across what is apparently the best hard money lender terms wise, because we keep calling hard money lenders and even they're like, oh, the other guy is giving you a way better rate. You should just stay with him.
Yeah, so I don't know how we managed to luck out in that regard. We called like 2 or 3 and they were one of the 2 or 3 that we called. So
yeah, so we had a mixture of hard money and private money.
Okay.
And it was fine and it worked out.
Yeah.
So the crazy thing though, we had a hard closing day because we found out 2 hours before closing that our hard money lender doesn't allow people in second position. And we had put the private money lender in second position and we had a signed promissory note and a signed deed of trust. And I'm finding out that they won't allow it. And we had to decollateralize the loan and incinerate the deed of trust, the promissory note from the earth. You don't want like a random deed of trust floating around. With signature.
Right.
So we changed it to be a general business loan to the
perfect. Okay. So you get into it. What did renovation wise, you had in mind what was going to happen? Were there surprises?
Daily?
So many.
Probably. I mean, I feel like that's just kind of the nature of, we are really focused on mid-century homes. So we're looking at old houses with old wiring and sometimes old plumbing and sometimes, what are they, like clay sewer pipes from whenever, and
asbestos, lead, like
give
us all the contaminants.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. I love those.
Yeah.
So what were some of the big surprises rehab wise that you were like, oh crap, this is like way more than I thought it was going to be? If you kept them to just naming a couple.
Okay, so the first I'm using GC in quotes because he used to be a GC and isn't anymore. And
I even question if he ever was. But
it seemed great for a second, and then the moment we were at the house, like signing the first contract with him, we were both kind of like, and we had a 10-week renovation timeline when we're standing in that house with him. And so we made all the mistakes that everybody has to make.
We ignored a lot of red flags and put up with it for too long. And, you've heard that story so many times.
It was like a box of red flags clearly labeled. And we're like, no, we're going to hire it anyway, just to see what happens.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know.
And so that culminated in him bringing in somebody to tile our 2 shower tub things. And then I think the biggest surprise for me in this process is I don't have a construction background. I don't have any skills. I've never tiled anything. I've never framed anything. I don't know anything. But I would look at something and be like, I don't think that that's supposed to look like that. And I'd be like, I'm not supposed to be the smartest person in the room right now. How do I have the solution to this construction problem and this guy doesn't? This isn't right. This is against the law of nature.
Yeah.
And so we ended up we fired the crew and we ended up having to demo and retile both showers.
Man.
Thank God we did. Thank God. He had actually finished one of them, so we didn't know how bad it was. I mean, we knew how bad it was just from visually looking at it, but it would have been disastrous if we had sold the house as it was tiled. It would have been like a quick disaster too.
Oh God.
And there was no, they built a shampoo niche out of just like drywall.
Oh gosh.
Like the backside of the drywall.
No, there was no drywall. There was a piece of tile stuck to a 2x4 to a step.
What?
That was the problem. Yeah. And so there's so many things to this day I will always wonder. So the tiler was the son of the guy we hired. And I don't know if the son was that bad at his job or if he was doing it on purpose. Because the guy who ripped it out said, it looks so bad. It looks purposefully bad.
Oh my gosh.
And so we'll never know if that's what was happening. Because we also heard later from other subs, our flooring guy, that they were shouting at each other a lot. And like, we'll never know exactly what was happening there. But thank God we found some really skilled, talented, trustworthy people who were reliable, who could save us from it. And thank God, like we had a buffer, and thank God we had extra tile for so many like silver linings.
Yeah.
And really our mantra through this whole thing was, we are learning so much every day.
Yeah.
Especially the hardest days, we would end with, we are learning so much.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's kind of a strained, like panicky.
Yeah.
We're learning so much. I love it. I remember, this is my favorite memory. So we tore the carpet off of the stairs to discover the stairs were hardwood, but like not like savable. And we're trying to save money at every turn, right? And there's all the little staples in the stairs from the carpet, and we're pulling them out like with needle nose pliers and whatever else, pliers or whatever. And I'm like at the bottom of the stairs, and these muscles in my thumb muscles are like cramping. And I know that the next day I'm not going to have any pinching. And I'm just like really mad that I'm doing that. And Michelle looks, well, she didn't even look at me. She's just like doing the work above me. And she goes, I just want you to know that I'm living my best life right now. And I was like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah, I am. This is my best life. And I'm like, I'm murderous. And you're having like an Oprah moment. And we're doing the same task. How is this happening right now?
Oh God, that makes my stomach cramp from laughing.
This is just one example of the yin and the yang that we are.
Yeah. Every time she has this analogy where like I would be spinning out. I spun out of control on the ARV 17 different times, where I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I know nothing. I'm an infant. I have zero skills. I know nothing. And she would just be like, I'm just going to hold the rope for you while you're on the edge. What do you need? How can I support you?
Oh,
and then the next day it would be like, she's having a contractor delay, whatever, and be like, I'll just hold your rope for you.
And then I would spin out for a while. Like,
right. I love it. Oh God, we need somebody to hold our ropes. I love that.
Totally. And I can't tell you how many times we have both said to each other when we're in this group, when we see all these women who are working full-time jobs, single moms, and doing all this alone.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's been for us, like, again, the yin and the yang. She's doing all the crap I would hate to do.
Right.
I'm doing all the crap she would hate to do. And the few things that we both hate to do, so far, luckily, we've been able to hire out.
Yeah, exactly.
Or we have intentions to hire out.
Or we do them together, and one of us is murderous and the other one is living their best life.
Right.
Or that.
I'm still mad about that.
She's still mad about it. Oh God, that's amazing. Okay. Well, wait a second. How far into the contractor? Okay. Like how many weeks into did you fire the original contractor?
Probably 4 or 5, I would say.
Well, so on the calendar, we're halfway into the renovation.
Right.
In terms of work done, we're 5% of the way there.
I mean, demo was done.
Okay.
Mostly.
Okay. So you'd figure out, right, we got to get rid of this person. This is clearly not working.
Mm-hmm.
And were there any issues with that? Like, was he combative?
This was the opposite of the stair pulling. So Michelle's so mad because she's been raging about this situation for weeks while I'm like happily off doing something else.
Living your best life.
And so she's like, I think we should both be there to let him go and get the lien waiver and whatever. I'm like, cool. And so we go, and she's so angry. She's shaking.
Mm-hmm.
and has to leave. I think you had a baby strapped to you that day. Yeah. So she's got a toddler strapped to her chest.
I love it.
Firing this guy. And she's
he had already been, so I had asked him to stop work already, and they had already packed up and left. So that part had been done. This was just kind of our,
this was like the paperwork exchange
and what monies, and it was like, the big.
And he was pushing back a little bit, and Michelle wasn't having any of it. So she just left. And so I was like, okay, cool. I'll like just get the check written and get the paperwork exchanged, and this will all be fine. But one of the things that's most important to me is like my reputation, and that people think favorably of me and my businesses. And so I'm just like, I got to figure out how to make this okay. Cause I'm going to run into this guy at King Supers in like 2 weeks or something. Right. And so I'm like sitting on the floor, writing his check and whatever. And then he goes, oh, I wanted to tell you that, you remember how you told me I wasn't charging enough for my sewer scopes? And I was like, oh yeah. Like most people charge this. He's like, yeah, I raised my prices and I'm making so much more money now. Thank you so much for that. And I was like,
his career development, like background.
I'm just like, you need to charge what you're worth, honey. And so he ended up like, that was kind of the silver lining, was that he was making more money doing something.
Well, he wasn't doing our work. He was,
And so then so we had like a pretty like peaceful parting with each other, like very much like cool, like
Uncles.
I'm never going to see you again, but this has been great.
I think also I had, I don't know if I think I had started telling her some of the level of horror of what was being found, and she had just been like, stop, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So there was a little bit more of she had a little bit of a buffer.
Yeah. I think that's good. Yeah, I think that's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, somebody clearly needed to handle that situation, and it wasn't going to be Michelle.
Yeah. Well, we had come to an agreement. Like the discussions were at an end, and we were at a point where, like she said, she was writing a check, and it was just kind of us standing around awkwardly, and that's when I'm like, okay, I got a baby, I'm out of here. Yeah. So that was, that was hard. Firing people is never easy. I mean, I haven't done it a lot, but the handful of times I've had to, it's just been pretty awful. There's nothing good about it.
It is awful. And that's why we put it off until we've had it over our limit, and then we explode. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. How did you find the replacement contractor?
Well, it ended up being that I was just GC and we just worked with subs. Yeah. And
did you enjoy that?
Yeah. And we were kind of already in that scenario because his scope of work was not the whole project.
Okay.
He later admitted he just took on too much of the project that he should not have. And I think that was a moment of honesty that I appreciated.
Yeah.
But no, from then on, we were able to sub everything out.
Perfect.
It was kind of in fits and starts, and we found some really great gems along the way and some ones that we will never use again. But, felt like a win that we have a handful of folks that now we rely on and we're, continue to work with as we're looking at other properties. So
totally.
Yeah.
Will you do it that way moving forward, basically subbing things out?
I think it'll depend on the project. We live in a city with some of the tightest regulations I've ever experienced, just even as a citizen resident. A lot of the city's regulations are what most people would have if they're in an HOA.
Okay.
So that also goes along to permitting and that kind of stuff. So you have to have a GC who's licensed in our city. And to do that, they have to have done a lot of work. And so it's hard to get the permits as an investor owner and not a resident owner.
Oh.
In that scenario. So a lot of the times if we're just needing permits for the electrical or plumbing, then our electrician or plumber can pull that. But if we needed a larger permit, we would need to have a licensed GC in our city to do that work.
Got it. Okay, so the big construction hiccup was the first guy. Was the first Okay. All right. So what did you had 100,000. What did you guys end up spending on the rehab?
100,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
well, so when we did the estimate, we literally shopped and put everything in a spreadsheet and kept a tally. So we knew like the doorknobs we want are $12 or whatever it was. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, I think we had used the buffer, right? Because the spreadsheet had the buffer. So that was including our buffer.
Yes.
Was 100,000.
Thank goodness for that buffer, man.
Yeah.
It's a lifesaver. Okay. So what was the time frame? Was it still around 10 weeks? Or did it?
No. So I think I feel like at the beginning we were talking 10 to 12 or maybe 14 at the most. We ended up at 17 from closing on the purchase to listing.
Okay. 17 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And we had significant delays with our windows. That was our supply chain pickup for this project.
Yeah. Windows are still being a little bit difficult. I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was a lot. How long did it take for you guys to get your windows?
Well, we never did.
They never came.
Like they're like, so what? Wait, what?
Well, so we had to get creative. We were actually able to on the ups. It's a little ranch, right? So it's not a lot of windows. First of all, I think it was 11. The slider was standard. 2 or 3 of the windows as is were already standard sizes. And then the other 2 they were within the framing allowances to fit a standard size window. So we were able to shop for all the main floor windows except one, but it had already been, it was the newest window in the house, just by chance.
Okay.
The basement so it's a basement ranch. They have those little tiny windows we couldn't find anywhere. And Angel finds these glass block windows with this weird little vent in the middle. And I'm initially horrified.
I'm like, no, these are cool. Like, just, you got to trust me, but I'm not the design one. Like, for the whole Cypress project, I picked the peacock wallpaper and what else did I pick?
The green tile.
The green hex tile and the glass block windows. So I did 1% of the project. So as you can imagine, when I'm bringing this like super weird window to Michelle, she's just like, there's no way I'm putting that window in my home.
Well, it wasn't that bad. It was kind of more like, well, if we have to, I guess. I mean, it'll fit. It's like the windows in the basement were so bad. They were all broken, like cracked glass. So we were having some of our contractors just be like, well, why don't you just leave those and put in the notes, like we'll replace them when they come. And we're like, not at this price point, buddy. Like,
just put up a sign. No. Just put up a sign saying the new windows are coming. Oh gosh, So we got glass black windows, which was hilarious because Michelle gave me here's another theme of our company. Michelle and I are on top of our crap. Like, we are type A students, perfectionist, you name it, we've got it on the DSM-4 like psychological handbook. She gives me these really specific specs of the basement windows that we need. And so I go to the internet because I can find anything I need on the internet. And I find these glass block windows and I send her the link. I'm like, these are the ones. And then she's like, okay, I'm going to order them. And I was like, well, just run them by the window guy. And he's like, no, you need this other one. And we ordered them. And then he waited a week to pick them up. And he opened them and says, these are the wrong size. And I'm like, what was the right size? The ones I originally sent? Yeah, sorry. I just didn't realize. So we had to wait another 10 days for them to come in, and then another delay to have them installed and get them trimmed out and get them caulked and get them painted. And I'm still mad that I again, as the non-construction person, I had the correct size.
Right.
And the construction guy second guessed me and messed it up. But they looked awesome.
They did.
And people loved them.
They ended up being like one of the highlights that people would mention that they loved about the design were the basement windows.
Okay, so it came in at budget. When you purchased the house, what were you thinking the ARV was going to be?
This is where I spiral into the pit of despair over and over again for 17 weeks. Because there were no comps. We were the first proper flip in the whole square mile quadrant.
Got it.
And so I had to pull comps from across major roads, which like a major road for us is just, one of the double line, 2-lane roads. It's not like a highway or something. But we had one that we felt was a stretch comp at 601. We had one at 582, which we felt like, that's a little bit of a stretch because it had some features that we knew we weren't going to have. And we had another one at like 550 or something. And so I was like, okay, I'll just average. It must have been lower than that because I was like, I'll just average the 3 comps, and we landed at 549. And the whole time I'm just awake all night because I don't know anything. I don't know anything. And so one day I'd be like, this house is worth $3. We're going to get $3 for it. And then 12 hours later, something would happen with the data or something. I'd be like, I want $7 million for this house when it's done. And it was just going back and forth and back and forth. And so then we got it staged, and we brought in the twins who also joined the program.
Yeah.
And we're like, cause they've been realtors forever. So we're like, can you just lay eyes on this thing and let us know what you would list it at? And then we brought my realtor in who's been at this forever. And we brought him in, and everybody was like, it's 550. This house is 550. And I never shared my ARV because I didn't want to skew them. And I was like, oh my God, I did it. Like within $1,000, I did it.
Yeah. That's pretty impressive.
And so we listed it at 550, and we felt really, and we're like, if we get 550 for this, we made a little bit of profit.
Yeah.
And we learned so much.
Learned so much. Michelle had the time of her life. She was living her best life.
Living her best
life on the stairs. Okay. So you put it on. Tell me what happened after you put it on the market. Let's talk about what happened after you put it on the market.
I made so many mistakes.
Well, let's talk about the open house first.
Okay. So,
because that was a part of the process that I had very little interest or desire to do or whatever.
Well, and even our mentor was like, you don't do an open house. You hire some other agent to sit in your open house and spend that time. I don't want to spend that time.
Well, we also, because when we were interviewing brokerages, like everything was shut down. Nobody was doing open houses.
Oh, yeah.
The message we got was, it's really not worth it. You're just taking up hours that people could be booking for showings.
Right.
That was kind of the vibe I was picking up.
Right. And that's the thing, like historically, an open house is where newer agents go. They hold the listing open for the listing agent, and that newer agent gets buyer leads. Historically speaking, that's the point of an open house. It's not to sell the house.
Yeah. So,
but she had a different mindset because this was like our debut as a business.
Right. Totally.
And she's very well connected, and she's a people person. So
yeah.
She was pushing for the open house.
Yeah. I was like, I don't think that the open house is going to sell the house, but I think it's an important PR moment for us as a business couple, and because flippers have a bad rap in our town, and even contractors we met, like, oh, you're flippers, so you just want me to like lipstick it and charge you the least amount of money ever. And I'm like, no, oh my God, no.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I wanted to hold the open house as basically a party for friends and family to come see the thing that we had been consumed with for 4 months.
Yeah.
And so we did, and it was overwhelming. There's a picture I posted, it was snowy, and everybody was taking their shoes off, and their shoes were lined up all the way down the front sidewalk. And I mean, it was like shoulder to shoulder. Like I didn't know where to stand with my body because there were so many people who came to look at it, both friends and family, but then also
buyers, lots of buyers,
lots and lots of buyers.
That's amazing. So for me, putting the house on the market is the most vulnerable part of this whole process, because that's my heart. Like, I'm putting my heart out there for somebody to either reject or say, you did good. Right? Like, it's so scary. So Michelle, being that you did 99%, you made 99% of the design choices. Was that a scary part for you? Or were you like, I've got this, like, this is fine. I know people are going to like this.
We knew it was good.
Yeah. I mean, we had that moment so the stager kept us out, rightfully.
Yes.
Right. And so we got that moment of walking in.
Oh my God. It's the best.
The final moment.
Yes.
And it was such a high, it was such a euphoric, like, oh my God, this looks like it belongs in a
magazine. Like, they did such a great job.
Yeah.
Our stagers were amazing, and they really got it. Like, from the very beginning, when I started talking to the stager and I was telling her our vibe and sending her pictures, and like, she was like, oh, I'm going to start setting aside. I know exactly what pieces I'm going to use here, And so she was like ordering pieces, and she was so great because we kept having to push off her date by weeks at a time, right? Because these windows. So
I have a piece of data about the stagers I never shared with you because I didn't want to stress you out.
Oh gosh.
So I went to drop off a few pieces of art for them to incorporate into it, which is very much like, oh honey, these will be in the kids' room.
I'll get these in the closet.
I was like so proud of my little mid-century bird print. And she's like, that'll be great for the kids' room. I'm like, oh. But anyway, it was fine. So I'm talking to them while they're starting to set up, and what had actually happened is, so we had to push them one final time. They already had the trailer loaded and had to unload it and reload it for us.
Oh no.
Because they're not upsetting. like a 30-foot trailer.
What?
Filled. They had been filling it all week, waiting for a date, and we pushed them, and they needed their trailer, so they had to unload.
Oh my gosh,
and reload. We're gonna take them out to the nicest dinner once we're all done being ill with children.
Oh God.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to the open house.
Yeah, back to the open house.
It was super overwhelming, and it was surreal because the feedback we were getting was like every superlative.
Best flip we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. And like, who's your designer? Which I attribute a lot of it to the to the stagers. Because when people say, oh, who's your,
it was gorgeous, the furniture was gorgeous, but like, it was not at all what I expected. It was overwhelming. I was like in a daze. It took me a good 48 hours or 72 hours because then we went from that to like all these offers.
Right.
So while Michelle's talking to all these buyers about like, oh, where did you source your kitchen cabinets? Where did you get this? Oh my God, we love this. Oh, I love this moment. And Michelle's like having a HGTV moment over on one side. Meanwhile, my phone is exploded with agents calling me saying things like, what number do you need to get this deal
just
done?
Tell me the number.
Tell me the number. And I'm like, I don't know the number. I just got here. I don't know anything.
Well, we had already gotten an offer before the open house. So it had been on the market starting on a Friday morning, and the first showing at 10 a.m., they had an offer in by 2.
They called us. They're like, we're standing in the house. We want it. We're writing an offer. They don't want to leave. And I was like, but please leave.
Someone else got it.
Don't squat.
So it was overwhelming as new flippers, as new agents.
Yeah.
And just the feedback, like it was a little bit of like, are people blowing smoke up our asses right now? Like, is this for real? Because some of the things they were saying, like seasoned realtors are saying this is the best flip that I've ever seen in Fort Collins.
Because people don't typically put care into it. That's changed a lot in the last 6-7 years. It's changed for sure, at least here. But when I first started, nobody was. It was like, whatever's on sale, let's put it in there. Like, it was very transactional. It wasn't about creating something.
Right.
It was about creating a profit for the investor, but it wasn't about like creating a space. Right. So it's a completely different vibe. And people feel that immediately when they walk in. I'm sure they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Especially if nobody else is doing it like that.
Yeah, the worst piece of feedback we got was an agent told us that our main image on the MLS was a close-up picture of the front door with the diamond-shaped window, which we did on purpose because MLS photos don't look like that. And so we wanted to stand out. And she's like, that photo doesn't do the listing justice. And I'm like, doesn't it though? Doesn't it?
And it's funny, we had a little bit of a snafu, like our photos got delayed. And so our listing went active without photos. It just had that one of the front door zoomed in, and
got it. I like it.
Told us later that they thought that was totally a marketing ploy, that it was just like the teaser image and you can only see it in person, that kind of thing. And it was really like, no, we were just scrambling behind the scenes waiting because there was a delay from our photographer,
We got an email from the photographer basically saying, our entire grid just went down and we don't know when your photos are coming.
Okay. And it was live.
And the listing had just
Oh God.
Anyway, so just little things like that,
Just little things like that. Okay. So you got who knows how many offers you got? 90 something offers, probably.
No, I could have done a better job as the agent. We didn't have an overwhelming number of offers, but we had a handful of offers that were so bonkers that we worried that they weren't rational.
Yes.
Like that they would get under contract because they needed to be under contract so bad because they've been turned away so many times. And then there would be like buyer's remorse and they would be disappointed.
Oh yeah. Very valid. That's very valid because it definitely happens. Yeah.
So we ended up not taking the highest bonkers offer. We took the one in the middle.
Yeah.
Because it felt rational and there was a believable story of relocation behind it where we were like, yeah, like they've, they're into the house and they'd seen it only on video with their agent, which is just like a whole other level of just like, I hope this thing performs when they get to town.
The day they rolled up, we were like, oh, I like it.
It's like, turn the heat on, put new flowers out, like
shovel the walk,
go bake the cookies, whatever you're supposed to do. Okay. So you listed at 549, 550. What did you end up selling for?
625. We asked for appraisal gap coverage because the dumb thing appraised at 530.
Which is actually our realtor friend used to be an appraiser, and that was exactly the number he had given us. So we had based our appraisal gap language suggestion to the buyers based on that number. And that's exactly where it came back.
Yep.
Because they just didn't have anything to go by.
Everything had sold from 380 to 530-ish. But what's so wonderful now is everybody's pricing their brick ranches at 619 now.
Isn't that crazy?
So we changed the tide of the entire west side of Fort Collins. Sorry, home buyers.
Well, we're one of them. I mean, we kind of screwed ourselves here.
But the whole time I was saying, if this is our neighborhood, now we have a comp. It's ours.
Exactly. That's amazing. Okay. So what, after all your expenses and carrying costs and all of that, what did you guys end up profiting?
$102,000.
Not too bad for your first flip.
Yeah. She made her whole annual wage in 19 weeks.
That's 2 interviews in a row where I've just heard that. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
it's mind blowing.
I'm trying to condense down, but I am among lots of people that I know who have worked in higher education and not just higher education, I would say all education, who have for decades felt undervalued, underpaid, worked, overworked. And I've never, with a master's degree and 20 years in one career, never made more than $50,000 a year.
She's bilingual, English, Spanish. And we crushed her annual wage in 19 weeks.
Oh my God. So part of that, like, I'm like, that's so awesome. I'm so happy for you. And the other part of me is really angry about that.
Oh, I mean, I could go on and on about the state of education in our country.
Yeah.
But speaking as someone who worked in it for a long time, and like I said, I know teachers from elementary all the way up to PhD, and I hear many of the same things from all of them, that it's just kind of a sinking ship.
Oh my gosh.
And a lot of people are fleeing and getting way better wages elsewhere,
Right.
So it's not painting a very happy future for our children. Or what's it going to take for something to change? We need to pay people a living wage, but to be able to do that, especially after feeling like I unwillingly left the workforce, and I think a lot of people have been kind of shaken up by the pandemic. And like you said, we're just a big group of people in transition, right? We're all making some sort of transition.
Yep.
And it is mind changing to think that I'm getting to do something I really, really love and living my best life. And I'm making great money. And, I hope it continues. I just really hope we can keep doing this.
Yeah. Well, you will. You totally will. I feel like when people are doing this business in this way, it has to last. Like, it has to work and it has to last, because we're not focusing on the profit. Yes, we have to make a profit. We're in business, but that's not the driving factor. The driving factor is, let's do good. Let's create beautiful spaces, safe spaces for people, and like be good people in our communities, and we'll be rewarded. That's what I think.
Absolutely.
I'm emotionally unemployable after 12 years as an entrepreneur. Like, I can't see a single future where I would ever work on somebody else's idea or passion on some kind of timeline where I have to be somewhere at a specific time every day. Like, just put me in the pasture.
Yeah.
At that point, I'm not signing up for that.
Nope. So y'all have this amazing business that each of you gets to shine in your zones of genius, and you get to outsource the other stuff and create and co-create. That's pretty awesome.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much gratitude. Like, it still feels very surreal to me. Like, from that open house till today, there's still part of me. I'm like, can this really be happening?
Are you sure?
and to all the naysayers, because there were so many, the friendship survived.
Yes. Right. Oh my God.
Everybody.
It was crazy. That was like the most common piece of feedback we were getting from people as we were launching is like, oh, good luck with the partnership. Good luck with the friendship. It's just kind of like, and I get it. There's a lot of people out there that have had partnerships go horribly wrong. So I think we were talking about this the other day, like we knew we were not unknown entities to each other.
We're 24 years into this.
Right.
Like,
whole
the
thing.
Most deep level of honesty, there's no filter between us. And so, I feel so lucky to have found someone that we do jive so well, and that we enjoy different things. And yeah, it just still doesn't seem real.
I love this. I love everything about you guys. Y'all are a total blast. I love your vibe. I love your energy. I love everything you contribute in the group. Like, I have this theory about people who give more than they take. And y'all are definitely people who give more than you take. And that's why, I just feel like that's why you're super successful and having fun. You're having fun even when you're in the thick of the crap. Even if it's just a tiny % of fun, it's still like, it could be worse. All right, you guys, this has been a pleasure. Thanks for hanging out with me.
Likewise.
Really.
Thanks.
And thanks for sharing your story.
Sorry, I made you cry 6 times. I'm not sorry.
I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it. It makes me happy. Okay. I'll see you guys in the group. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
All right.
Have a good
I'll
rest of
see
your
you.
day.
Bye.
You
Bye.
too. Bye. So fun, right? Oh my gosh. I love them. All right. So clearly their friendship survived. They are on their second flip. And just how inspiring is that? They handled the challenges that came up, sometimes through the pain, sometimes through the pain, sometimes through the tears and the French, and sometimes through the pain and the frustration and the tears. But they handled them. They handled the challenges. That's it. It's all we're doing, right? We manage the people, the project, and the problems over and over again. And some projects, those three are easier. In other projects, those three are harder. It just is what it is. All right. You'll make it through. I promise. All right. If you are still sitting on the sideline though, and not chasing this dream you have and not getting out there because you don't know what to do, you don't know the steps, and you don't want to do this alone, go to herfirstflip.com and schedule a call with our team. Let's see if we're a fit. All right. Okay. Until next time, go out there, flip houses like a girl, leave people and places better than you find them, and keep chasing your curiosities. Bye, y'all.